Hey everybody, I'm Moonbear Cruz, the Ecstatic Fool, and this is Ecstatic Awakenings, the Ecstatic Trip Report. I'm honored to be here with my bestie with testes, the visionary artist extraordinaire, Burt Veracruz. And so today we're going to be talking about our first time. Not that first time though. Nobody wants to hear that. We're actually going to be talking today about our first foray into psychedelics, specifically psilocybin mushrooms. So this is a trip report. And the reason why for you, Bert, probably not initially, but psychedelics for you has kind of informed your work, right?
Absolutely.
How
Yes.
so?
So I feel like the experience of psychedelics has given me sort of you know, a doorway into another dimension, and um, it has such a profound sort of impact on me as a person that I want to take those visions and those experiences back into the world for everyone to experience. I think it's a way of communicating, what is existing on other dimensions and other planes of existence and other realities, or even just within ourselves, and how it can bring that back. One of the things I do focus on is sacred geometry, and to me, sacred geometry points to our existence, and it's something that you see when you're on mushrooms, right? Open-eyed visuals, sometimes it's closed-eyed visuals. You see this beautiful geometry, and I just want to take that back into this world. So that's, for me, that's why it's mushrooms.
Yeah, man. The experience of mushrooms, like I wouldn't even be doing this video or any of this if it hadn't been for the experience of crossing over into a completely different way of being and thinking and experiencing life, with your eyes wide open, your mind wide open. And that's the only reason why we're even talking about mushrooms here today, because it has really changed our lives. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about your first time.
I split an eighth with some buddies of mine in college. You know, we were walking around campus. It was such a light hit, but just it was beautiful seeing those swirls and
But they
seeing
were
like the
just like, hey
visuals.
man, want to do some mushrooms?
Oh, so I'm not gonna incriminate my buddy, but he pulled out like this like wrinkly bag of shrooms. It was just like, he's like, yo, look what I got. Like, you want to try some? Had no idea what this was gonna be about. So, but
You're just like, yeah, I'm on my way to class, but
oh no, it was like a Saturday.
mushrooms. Oh,
I
okay.
feel like it was after a rave or something.
Wow. Dude was, Bert was that dude in college, right?
Yes.
Raves, and you did a lot of stuff, huh?
Raves, drugs.
And rock and roll.
Yeah.
So the experience on an eighth, how?
Bit of an eighth. I think the one thing that stood out the most was, for whatever reason, I went out to my car in the street and I looked at the clouds and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about looking at clouds. And it was one of the most beautiful moments where it just reminded me how some of the simplest things in our life, like I was taking for granted, but I definitely remember the feeling of being a child and just looking at clouds and how beautiful they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, even at an eighth, you're still
That was
feeling like you got,
part of an eighth.
part of an
we
eighth.
split we
You
split it
split an
between
eighth.
three guys.
Yeah, you're still getting in addition to the visuals, you were getting a little bit of that. Yeah, life. This, right?
The first time I did an eighth all to myself. I was in Big Bear. So that was my first time doing an eighth all to myself, and I remember, yeah, this was with my commune at the time. I was taking social movements and collective behavior.
Oh,
So I had like a little commune, play commune with other students from my class, but we had rented a place in Big Bear to write our manifesto. class assignment, but I'd taken the full eighth, and it was crazy. My like language went out the door for me. We were drumming in the basement. That was so intense, but we were also checking out. So a buddy of mine had to drive me home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was so peaking and in the experience, and coming down from Big Bear, like I had this realization of like that we're divine, that we were God manifested, and that our death is inconsequential. Like I was like literally, dude, I can just jump out of this thing. I died. Like it don't even matter.
Okay.
You know, like that's just the flesh. And I'm sure in his mind he was like, please, Burt, don't jump out.
Like I hear you,
do not
homie,
jump
but
out of your car.
Don't do that.
Please don't do that. I barely knew that dude. So yeah, but like that was definitely that switch for me from like just sort of everyday awareness to, oh, this is divine space. Welcome. And
right.
You don't have to be on shrooms to realize that. I think it's something that you just, when you have once you're aware of it, then it never leaves. It just never leaves. You just know. You just have to remember like, oh yeah, I forgot, we're here.
For me, mushrooms, I feel like I had been looking for a way to snap out of it. You know what I mean? And by snap out of it, I mean like for a really long time in my life, I felt like if I could just switch my brain frequency, I always had the thought that I could switch my way of thinking to the point where I could experience a different reality. Also, the feeling that I had so much stuff on the inside and that I just needed to break out. And I tried ayahuasca, San Pedro, both of these down in South America. And it wasn't until I had my experience with psilocybin mushrooms that I was like, oh yeah, this is what I was talking about, So, my first 5-gram experience, you were there, you were my trip sitter. And right from the jump, I went right in 5 grams. I didn't know anything about mushrooms, I don't even think you and I had talked about it extensively. It had just come up and you were like, oh, let's get some mushrooms. And I was like, okay, whatever. And, I was kind of at a place in my journey where I was just feeling like I had kind of gone as far as I could take myself, like I needed a switch, definitely a shift in perception and perspective. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, I was just like, yeah, okay, why not? And then, 5 grams, why not? Like if you're gonna go, I'm gonna go all in. So, I took the mushrooms, the full 5 grams, and almost right away, almost immediately, I'm in the bathroom, like, oh no, no, like I partake in herb, and so not that I was thinking it was going to be like a marijuana trip, but I thought I was going to have some control, like a feeling of just like, ooh, this is neat, or, like I'm high, or, whatever. And immediately, like, I want to say I knew I was about to be out of here, like out of this reality, out of my house. Like it was just like, oh no, reality is shifting. Like this is no joke. And also just that feeling like everything was, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this, and that feeling of being out of control, not out of control, like, but just like, this is not something that I have control over. Like I'm going on a journey and I'm maybe not the pilot. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like this is far beyond what I was thinking it was going to be. And so immediately I put my I put my finger in my mouth. I was trying to vomit it up, like, oh no, 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 I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. And Mushrooms was like, girl, it's too late. Like, you're going on this trip. And so, you were there and you were like,
not like this.
Not like this, homie.
Right,
You were like, oh no, not like this. Not like this. So, you're like, no, it's cool, just,
Yeah, I was telling you to chill.
Yeah, just chill, right? And so I was like,
I knew what was coming though.
Oh my gosh. And so, I finally did, because I was like, well, I can't do this. Like, I definitely can't just be like terrified and go over in complete fear. So I was like, let me try to slow down my heart rate. Let me lay down. Let me get my mind together. Because I mean, there was no stopping the train at that point. Like, reality was shifting. Like, sound was changing. Like, I just knew, like, oh no, I'm about to be out of here. So in that first experience for me, with the 5 grams, it was like a in the Matrix, like the sound that you hear, that when they show the Matrix tiles falling or whatever, just it was just kind of like that sound, and the feeling of being like uploaded into kind of a motherboard, or it felt alien. It felt like computer. But also it felt organic, but and also it felt like coming home again. It was just like a welcoming, but it was that, like, crossing over in the Matrix, almost.
Yeah.
And that was a part of it. I feel like I went through, like, so many things came up back to back to back in the experience, like experiencing sound, or just like things were just like funny, like words weren't words, or like you would get a word, and if I tried to bring it to you now, I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like quadrillion, or something, or quarter, just, I don't know, just like words, and like kind of like your whole life experience coming to you in that way. And I think it was the first 5-gram trip too, where, because with mushrooms, it's the journey of self into self, and whatever you have on the inside, if it's fears or doubts or whatever, you're going to experience those things. And getting to experience a plane crash, which at the time was something that was
That's
really
crazy.
One of my big fears. And I got to experience, the plane falling out of the sky and everything, and then everything just going black, And then in the blackness, I realized, like, oh, I still am, I still exist. So, like, there is no end to anything. It's like Source's way, or the mushroom's way of showing you, like, yeah, and then and then right. Like, there really is no end. Like, at the end of one life, you still are. It just keeps going and going and going.
I definitely felt like, when I had laid down, I was listening to like meditation music, and I got into this space where I just sort of saw these like purple pinkish structures in my behind my mind, and just feeling like I was riding waves of energy, and then at some point I had walked into the bathroom and just vomiting my brains out.
Yeah, I remember that part.
But yeah, just feeling like I was in space, in the middle of space. Like, I knew it was figurative, but it also felt very literal. But I think the hardest part was I was thinking I was dying, and and I was like telling you like I'm gonna die right now. No, I just needed to throw up.
Yeah.
Right. I felt like that was also a lot of that trip had to do with Madi and my relationship with her. You know,
What about it?
um, just feeling more aligned with her as a person, and wanting to be connected with her at a deeper level, right? Even if you're a parent, like there's ways that you can actually be more of have a deeper connection with someone. Like you can't, just because. I mean, that's some of your most influential kind of relationships, right? And so, I think at that time I was thinking about it from that lens and just wanted to be the kind of dad that really connected with her daughter.
Anything else you want to share from that trip?
Mirrors. Oh my God, that room was full of mirrors.
It was.
It was crazy, and yes, the entire wall behind the bed was covered with a mirror, just one big mirror, the sliding doors, all of that. That was a trip. I think that produced a lot of effects for me, like on the emotional tip. I clearly felt the presence of something divine communicating with me. And I think after when I really dove into the peak of the experience, I'd entered a space that felt like I was in a chamber of archives, and I would even call that the Akashic record.
Word.
Is it a library? Who knows? It just feels like a space. And I felt the presence of some divine light being presenting the book of life to me, and opening up this massive book. It was probably like 8 by 8 feet or something.
Wow.
And opened up before me, and I was asked to pick a role, pick any character in this book of life, and for you to be that person. Don't forget that you're playing this role. Almost like I'm an actor in a movie.
The play of life.
The play of life.
Yeah.
And it was almost like opening a birthday present, but you get to pick what you want.
How about it?
Yes.
How about it?
Whether that experience was real or metaphorical, I still think it was a powerful experience that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I think even for me personally, like, I wasn't sure that I was going to even get an answer to a question I wasn't asking at that moment.
You weren't sure you were going to get an answer to a question you were not asking.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't even asking. I just wanted to see what was coming.
It's funny like that.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's a trip. The experience of mushrooms is really about, like what you're talking about, like in that experience, you get to choose what role you're playing in life, right? And so then you come back from that experience knowing, right? Like,
yes.
You come back with some new information that you get to integrate into your life experience, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a simple lesson sometimes. It's such a simple lesson that you learn where you're on these trips, but those are sort of the fundamentals that make the most difference.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin it for people, if mushrooms is something that you think you're going to experience, especially at this high dose level, 5 grams and higher. It's like, I don't want to ruin the surprise for you, but it's just like when people talk about your third eye opening, like I really understood it intrinsically. It was just embedded knowledge now. Like, oh, I see. Now I see what you mean. When you say your third eye opens, you can't unsee what you've seen, just like when you're on the other side of reality and you realize, like, first of all, nothing is real, and then you're infinite. It's hard to unknow that, right? And it completely changes the game of life for you. Like, I tell people, that I have introduced to psilocybin mushrooms, and they ask me, am I going to come back from this? And I'd be like, absolutely you are, but no. Also, no.
You can't come back with and not have that awareness.
And now there are times when it's just easier and easier to access that heaven state of mind, the heaven space. What if this really was heaven? What if we are experiencing heaven on earth? How would you live it in this moment?
One of the things is, sort of like this questioning of divinity. I think for me as a skeptic, I'm, sometimes like, well, really, am I experiencing that? It's just my brain projecting those experiences, and then what is reality? But I think the idea of separation between ourselves and divinity is just a human construct, that it's not real. It's just not real. It's not real even at a very basic science level. Like, how do you separate your atoms and your being, like, from everything else that is, from everything that is on the earth, and everything down to the molecular subatomic level, all the way up to being in the middle of, countless galaxies. You're in the middle of a solar system, and flying along a galaxy, and there are countless galaxies out there. So how are you not a part of everything else?
Okay.
It's like telling me, like, this molecule that's inside of my heart, that's flowing through my veins, this tiny little molecule that's in there, is not part of my whole being. Yes, we are so much a part of everything. We are so deep in the mix of the universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it. I feel like when you're in mushrooms, you see that, you see the geometry of all of that is happening.
That part.
You see it. You look. You're like, yes, I get why I'm seeing fractals, because that is the natural order of the universe. That is the natural flow and mathematical flow of all that is. But man, so I feel like that idea of separation, and having to say that, like, in order to be divine, we have to have access to some other place. No, it's already just like, God doesn't say, like, oh, all right, like, I'm God because I'm defining myself as something that is powerful and beyond everything else. It's more like you're just aware. You were born this way. You were born divine. You were born into all that is. You're born into all of existence. You're born into this, like, so deep connection, seated in the womb of the multiverse.
And like, don't get me started. I'm not even trying to get into all of that in this video. I'm not even trying to get into all of that in this video. But
yes,
that part. Okay, so first, that reminded me of two things. One, in the first trip, I forgot the whole experience of being the universe. That was in there. I forgot that part. That's what came before everything else. Like the experience of, like, zooming through the cosmos, I got to experience what being a star felt like, what being water felt like. That's always in it for me. And also the experience of giving birth to a universe. I got to experience that in my first trip. The birth experience is also something that's in there for me every time. But that part, like, the oneness, the being one with all that is, like, it's something that we say, and it's something that we've sang, and don't even get me started. Like, why everything that you see and everything that you've ever heard was just for you to awaken to the remembrance of the fact that you are everything that is. Everything is you. You are everything, and everything is you, right? Like, there's a reason why, these songs are out there, and, like, we are one, and all that stuff. What's Bob Marley's song?
Which one?
One love, one love. Like, we say it, right? And it's like a fun concept, and it's a groovy tune and all that stuff. But that oneness, that's something that you definitely experience inside of a mushroom experience, and it's something that doesn't let go. Once you come back from that, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, you're going to come back, but are you coming back exactly as you were? No, never. Like, you're never going to not know deep, deep, deep within that you are one with the holiness that is all things. You are all things. Everything is you. It's just one thing, and none of it is separated now. You know what I mean? Everything, like the good stuff, the bad stuff, the bad stuff, right? Like, it's all coming from that same source. There's just one thing, and it's like love. Thanks for being in this cosmic trip with me in life.
Right.
Thank you for being on the spaceship with us today here on Ecstatic Awakenings. It's been a treat. Okay.
Cool. How do we get out of this thing?
Well, I'm gonna land it over there.
Okay. All right.
Jump out.
Cool.
Okay, guys. Ecstatic Awakening to each and every one of you. Love you. Love you. Love you. Bye. So this is closer than any two podcasters have ever sat.
Not close enough.